It's patch day in DC Dark Legion, and we got a huge update today. And while there were a couple of things that were controversial with the community this morning on the official Discord, a vast majority of this update is quality of life that we really needed. As usual, I'm going to take you through the high points of this update, and I'll leave the rest of it for you to read yourself and take a look at in the game. But let's go ahead and jump in and see what we've got. You'll notice there's a new resource, ACDC shard looking resource. It's got this little recycle emblem on it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the update. So first up, the bleed is probably going to have a new champion for you. If you're on the beta servers 200 through 205 like I am, you're going to have Sinestro as a rerun champion now. Obviously we still have Queen Hippolyta for a few more days as well. And you'll notice from my screen that Sinestro has 26 days, so the beta servers have not quite hit the point, I guess, where they're going to be doing the 14 and 14 reruns. So we'll continue to monitor that situation and see what that looks like down the road. Now, one new thing that they've added is we've always had this invite friends system in the game, but they've made a couple of modifications to this. So there is a new process, and if you invite a friend to play the game, the way they've designed it is that that person, they'll use your link to install the game, and then immediately once they get into the game, they will be added to your friends list. So it's a way to kind of connect you to the friend that is playing the game with you. I think that's a really nice small quality of life change, but it makes it a lot easier to kind of figure out where your friends are in the game. You know, if your friend joins up, they're probably going to go to a different server. Kind of helps connect you and allows you to kind of guide them to get into the server with you or whatever you're trying to do. Next up, we've got some changes to the champion level cap. So there are two things worth mentioning here. The first one is that they have adjusted the cost to upgrade each level. You can see that I've got about 51 million biostems here, and most of that is as a result of the refund that I got today. Also, it cost 8 million to go from 593 to 594, and it was quite a bit more than that before. So really happy to see that they've adjusted this system a little bit, because it was kind of difficult to move up to the next level. And the second part of this update is important in that vein. So after each session of Battle for Gotham, so essentially once per month, once the new president of the Earth Council is appointed, they're going to increase the champion level cap by 10. So this is just a way for them to basically tie the update to something that they know is going to happen once a month on a regular cadence. So we're going to, you know, if you're the kind of player who maxes out every time, especially for heavy spenders, this is going to be a mechanic that allows you to always have something to upgrade. You know, you're going to always have something to push higher on. For the rest of us, we're always going to be chasing that, I think. And it's fine to be chasing it a few levels behind. I don't think there's going to be much impact there other than really just the positive impact of always having something to chase. I think that's important in these games for a lot of people, the ability to always have something to look forward to. You never want to find yourself at the end of the game waiting on things, because you will get kind of bored. Overall, I like the changes to Sync Boost. Happy with it. We do have a couple of small changes to Supreme Commander. If you go into your League Duel, they've made some modifications to the visual appearance of it. There's also this new daily reward that you can get. It's going to be down here in the bottom middle of your screen. I think for me, it was 5 gems. I don't know whether that changes, based on how well you do over time, but we'll monitor that. You can see that you do also have a better display for your rankings and rewards. Okay, so next we have some huge quality of life updates to the League screen. You can see that this is completely revamped from the way we were able to view it before, and I do think that there could be some additional changes to the UI to make it look a little bit more visually appealing, but I do appreciate that they've made it easier to see everything at a glance for your League activities. So we have the ability to see Battle for Gotham when that's going to be hitting. we can see our Umbral Rift screen here, and we can click on that. You can add your standby squads from here. You should be able to join from here as well. We've got Guardian Challenge here, Great Krypton Rush, and Checkmate Crisis. Pretty much anything that you can do with your league, you now have a fast track to be able to view it from here. There were some ways to view it before, but I think this is a better visual appearance. Obviously, it would be nice if all of these would fit on the screen at once. Be a lot easier if we had landscape mode, but it's not too much to just scroll left or right to be able to see what you need. And then you'll see all of the buttons that were kind of in like a 2-column appearance previously. They're all down here at the bottom of your screen. And again, perfectly fine with this. It doesn't really change much in the way that I do things. You'll note that the rankings and settings have been moved down here as well. So just kind of visually, they're pulling everything into one place. Again, I like the change. One thing they did add is you'll be able to view your league contribution, not just for the current week, but you can also view it for the prior week as well. So you can see your daily league contribution, you can go to your weekly, and then you can go to last week, which it's vacant now, but once you've been doing this for about a week, it should be ready to go for you, and you'll be able to see prior contributions. Another thing that I thought was a nice quality of life update, and apparently this has been in the game already. I think it was a makeup patch note from what Helen said for something that occurred in the August 27th update or around that. So what they did was they put a limit on the amount of people per week that an R4 can kick. I believe it's 10 members that an R4 can kick in 1 week. R5 is going to still be unlimited. So the idea is that if someone is appointed an R4, they're not going to be able to just completely dismantle a league immediately. So it's kind of a protection against stupidity, for a lack of a better word. Some more league event items worth discussing. They've made stamina consumption dynamic now for your teams. And the patch note basically says that stamina consumption now scales with battle intensity. So if you're fighting a tougher opponent, your stamina is going to go down a little bit more, which I'm not exactly sure the impact of that. I mean, that seems to me to kind of suggest that if you have a more powerful lineup, that you should be using it against weaker opponents so that you can keep that stamina a little bit longer. And it kind of disincentivizes like two, monoliths going against each other, because it's going to mean that team is going to come off the battlefield much sooner. But let me know how you think that's going to go down in the comments below, and definitely curious how that plays out in modes like Battle for Gotham, where it's like very intense the entire time you're playing, and there's very little time to kind of recover, or you really need to make sure that your lineups are constantly on the battlefield. The other thing that they've added in here is a champion attribute decrease. And it looks like for every 1 stamina that the squad loses, each champion's basic attribute, so their attack, their HP, their physical defense, and spiritual defense, will decrease by 1%. So again, it seems to be mechanics to make battles, go the entire length. Like, for example, if you have Battle for Gotham goes for 2 hours, it seems that these are changes that they're trying to make to ensure that the battle goes for much longer and that the fights are a lot closer. And it actually, I don't want to use the word penalizes, but it definitely seems to be favoring leagues that aren't quite as strong. It's going to give them kind of a leg up. Maybe not an advantage, but it creates more of an equal playing field. And it means that, just because you have higher power doesn't mean you're always going to win. You're definitely going to need to make sure that you understand these game modes and have good strategy for what you're trying to do. One last league event reminder. This is a big positive quality of life change for leagues that have the maximum amount of cities. So if you have 5 cities in your possession, you won't have to abandon a city just to be able to view the available cities. So it's going to make it a lot easier to kind of strategize and decide whether you want to go for stuff without having to limit yourself. If you get rid of a city and then you realize that it's going to be really tough for you to get one of the other cities, creates an annoyance more than anything. So this is going to be really nice. I think R4s and R5s are going to appreciate that. And now let's talk about the elephant in the room. So there was a little bit of controversy on the official Discord this morning. One of the changes that they made is that players are now going to be able to deploy their own ships in PvE combat. So in your anti-crime network and your training sim, you're going to be able to use your ships to do those fights. Now, the reason why it's controversial is because we'll take a look at it on screen here. You're going to be going up against opponents who now have ships too, and it feels like I'll have to go in and take a look on one of my lower level accounts to see. I'm curious where the drop off is, where they're not using the mythic ships, but on my main account on 204, pretty much every opponent that I've come up against is using one of the mythic ships. You can see the Beetle Blue Beetle ship is being used here. I've seen the Batwing, also obviously the Superman rocket is getting used as well. And it kind of creates a little bit of a disadvantage, I would say, to you. You can see that the apocalypse level is a little bit low here, but you're getting the effect of that ship, and those mythic battle effects are quite intense. So it does mean that a lot of these levels that we were already stuck on, we're probably going to be stuck on even longer until we're able to obtain the apocalypse necessary and the teams necessary to be able to push ahead. I think the thing that I try to keep in mind is that we don't always know what the devs are up to at any given time. We don't know how this interconnects with other things, other plans that they have, and we don't know what the economy is going to look like in the game moving forward. So, there's a good chance that there could be changes to the way we do the apocalypse system in the future. Maybe there are more ways for us to acquire afterburners or intertrons for our transmutes, like different ways for us to progress our accounts that will take away a little bit of the sting of this. But I do think one of the other easy solutions would be just to remove the ships from the opponents, which would allow us to get a little bit of an advantage by using our ships against them. Remains to be seen what they're going to be doing with this. I would just say for now, let's maybe give the devs a little bit of grace on this. And, obviously, if you're upset, definitely go into the official Discord and leave a feedback post. Just try to be as respectful as you can in leaving the post and be constructive about it. If you're upset with the way they've made this change, then maybe try to offer a solution that would make you a little bit happier, that would be a reasonable solution. So I just wanted to point this out for you guys. You can see I'm not quite able to beat Bane here on auto. Maybe I'll mess around with it on manual, but I was able to beat Deathstroke on the level 36 XP mission, which I wasn't able to beat him before. Obviously it's been a while since I tried it, but obviously my new stopping point is Bane here. I think you're going to be able to progress more than you actually realize on these missions, especially because you're able to use those ships. But for people who haven't been spending a lot, I definitely think they're going to be seeing more of a difficulty curve here than people who do spend. Something I saw in the update notes that I like is we go into our champion screen and then you go to the upgrade screen. You now have a quick access way to upgrade your champion using your mythic selector shards, rather than having to go into your inventory to use them that way. And you're not going to lose your shards by clicking the button, so don't be scared. You click that button, it brings you to this select reward screen, which is the same one that you get by going over to your inventory. I will note that when you click on the button here, it automatically adds the amount of shards that you need if you have them available with the selector shards to go ahead and complete the next star level on your champion. So be careful there if we're just wanting to add maybe a couple or whatever. But I think this is a fairly welcome quality of life change for a lot of people. Another feature they changed, if you recall in your resource overview, and just as a refresher for anyone who needs to know, if you go up and just click your cache, it takes you to this resource overview where you can see all the different resources that you have available. And it used to be that if you click the use button, it would come up and have a use all button there. They've changed this to batch use, which allows you, it gives you the slider where you can decide how many of these you want to use. And I'm indifferent on the change. I do think it's nice to have everything in one place. Typically, to do this batch use feature, you would have to go into your inventory screen to do it. So having everything in one place, very nice quality of life, gives you a few seconds to your day back. Another change that's coming to the game today based on popular demand, and this has been one that has been months and months in the making. They are making it where you can either basically decode all or decode 10 mother boxes, and this is going to particularly be nice for your daily quest. There's a daily quest where you have to decode 5 mother boxes. So this is going to make it a lot more efficient to complete that quest. It would have been nice if they had added a decode 5 or maybe just a batch use slider like they had for the other resources. But I'm really happy to see that they have the decode 10 for the green mother boxes, which is going to make completing that daily quest a lot easier, and it's going to be a really nice change for a lot of players. It just allows you to continue to hoard your resources for Supreme Commander Day without, feeling like you're ruining your account by having to decode 100 mother boxes at a time, or just skipping this quest entirely in favor of others so that you can have this for Mother Box Day. So really huge change here, at least maybe not huge, but it's definitely one that a lot of players have been asking for, and I hope that they'll be happy to have this. One thing that I need your help with as a community, and I'm sure some of my friends are already trying to figure this out, but they seem to have updated the descriptions of several champion skills without changing the actual effects of the skills. So there definitely been some optimizations over time where maybe there was a translation issue or something else. So I'm curious exactly what was changed. I don't know whether, I know that at least Tavoka has a spreadsheet that has a lot of the historical data, so may get with him and see what he's able to come up with here. But let me know in the comments below if there are any that come to mind immediately for you that you saw were changed. I'm curious what those changes are. They changed the portrait for Wonder Woman. It doesn't change her actual character model. I wish they would change the character model to mirror the portrait, because I think the portrait, they did a really good job on the update here. We did get a couple of updates to some champions. I don't think they're super consequential. They updated Sinestro's autocast logic for Mind Over Matter, his ultimate, so that it targets the nearest enemy. They updated an issue where Hawkgirl's ultimate dive bomb was not triggering correctly if you were using her on manual mode in combat cycle, which I probably wouldn't recommend using her in combat cycle anyway, but they at least fixed an issue here. They fixed an issue with Superman where his ultimate would target the wrong enemy sometimes in Anti-Crime Network. I know several people who lost a lot of battles because of that, so happy to see that they've fixed that issue. And then the last thing to mention is they updated the description of one of Dr. Fate's force talents. The one in question is Dark Magic Enhanced, and this is one where it increases Dr. Fate's maximum HP. Now, the prior description was that it increased max HP by 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20%, which is quite significant. The updated version is half of that, so it's 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. The key here is this is not a change to the actual kit for Dr. Fate. Apparently, it was just incorrectly stated that it was 4, 8, 12, 16, and 20% on the description. It's obviously unfortunate that they only caught this now, but the good news is that Dr. Fate's kit is unchanged completely. I did some testing yesterday and I looked to see exactly what his ultimate cast was, and then I tested again this morning and I could tell that his ultimate, the shield granted by his ultimate, was the exact same before and after the update. So I can definitely confirm for you that this was just a visual issue. However, the community management team has, I think, extended a nice olive branch here where if you did invest in this force talent and, you did it based on some sort of mathematical calculation that you needed that, 4, 8, 12, 16, or 20%, you will be able to get a full refund on the force invested in this talent. For me personally, I don't really see a reason for doing that because I think he's still an incredible champion, and this literally has no impact on his kit whatsoever. It was literally just a visual change. Now, I do hope that in future, if they do nerf these champions, like an actual nerf, that they'll continue to do these refunds on ACDC shards, because that definitely would be a pain point. If you invested a lot into a champion and then they get nerfed, you kind of want to be able to get those resources back and maybe invest them into a different champion that can, do more for your team. Last thing I'll mention is there was an issue this morning where people could not switch back and forth between their planet coins, and that has now been patched, like literally just a few minutes ago while I was recording this video. Nice to see that they've already taken care of that one. So if you were having issues with that, you should be able to restart your game, and then you'll be able to switch back and forth between your planet coins. That's going to do it for this update. Definitely a lot of quality of life. A couple of things, especially with the adding the ships to the PvE combat, that people weren't super happy about. But I do think that on the whole, we have a massive amount of things to be excited about, happy about. One thing that potentially the devs need to be looking at in the future and trying to make sure that it's properly balanced. I'm sure they're not going to make an immediate decision to kind of turn this around. So please be patient with the devs while they take a look at how this is affecting gameplay over the next week or two. And, we'll cross our fingers that they'll make some sort of adjustment, or at least acknowledge it and let us know what their thinking is. We do have that Ask Devs coming up in the next few weeks, maybe the next month or so. Maybe they'll address some of this there, or talk about kind of their future plans and like why they make certain decisions now that may be a little bit painful that are going to make us a lot happier down the road. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the update, what you're frustrated about, what you like about it. And if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. If not, I'll see you in the next video.